Everybody nowadays tells you to start investing your money wisely, but there's so many different investment opportunities out there. So me myself, I got lost. That's where I started looking for clear solutions. Let me break it down for you. January 2024, you invest 1,000 euros in the S&P 500, the best passive investment in the entire world. That's what they tell you. But let's say 2 years later, January 2024, your investment is now up 1,050 euros. So from 1,000 euros, you went to 2,050 euros. That is actually a very good result, really good. So let's say now we invest 1,000 euros again, but it's not worth 2,050 euros after 2 years, but it's now 4,900 euros after 2 years instead. Same period, same starting amount, only a different asset class where it has been trading on, and that is exactly what HRC Algo users have been experiencing over the past 3 years of live performance onto the public market. So let me show you how that's possible and how they have been doing it. Today I'm going to show you 2 scenarios. We can also now dive into my Miro dashboard because I'll explain everything through there in a visual representation. So first we have scenario A. What happens if you invest one time 1,000 euros and no monthly contributions? Or option 2, what happens if you invest 1,000 euros and then as a monthly contribution 100 euros every month on top? We'll compare 4 assets side by side: S&P 500, Bitcoin, HRC algorithm, and traditional saving. Like everyone knows, right? You should always save your money on the bank because it is the best way to do it. So let's dive into it if that is really the fact. No backtests, no theoretical projections. These are real results based on 25 months of live verified track record data. Not like any other guru that cannot show you the numbers online. I can show you everything from A to Z through a fully verified track record by my facts book, and that's what all matters, right? So you'll see why consistent monthly contributions can completely change the outcome of your investment, and it all comes down to how compounding eventually works, right? If you don't understand how compounding works, you are basically not investing the right way. And why also most assets don't allow you to work with compounding interest, because there's not much interest to compound. So let's dive into that as well. So we'll go to the first page in Miro. It's here, compounding interest. So how does it work? Compounding works like this. You earn returns and those returns become part of your base. The next month you earn returns based on your new base. So the snowball effect. Without compound, you earn returns only on your starting amount. You don't earn returns based on your new base monthly basis. With compound, you earn returns on your starting amount plus previous earned returns. Okay, so let's say you start with 1,000 euros and after 1 month you are now at 1,070 euros. The next month you are at 1,145 euros. Then after 6 months with compounding you are at 1,501 euros. Then after 12 months you are at 2,252 euros. You see, the compounding effect starts to work. The 1% base non-stop will grow, right? That means the 1% will grow regardless because your base will also increase. So if you don't do that, then you would make on average year-to-year basis, let's say you do 7%, you would have made 1,800 euros. Now with compounding, you made 452 euros more, which is the power of compounding. Every month the base grows, the gains accelerate without doing anything extra, purely by understanding this simple method. So why is this so powerful with HRC? HRC Algo has had 0 losing months past 3 years, so your compound base never shrinks. Every month builds on a new growing foundation. So the compound effect can be very aggressive. Compare that, for example, to Bitcoin or stocks. 1 bad month wipes out all of your compounded gains, because if you look at those historical assets, they have not been so consistent throughout the past years, right? They always have a dip of maybe 10%, 20% plus or more, and that is then where your compounding effect will basically die. So compound only works optimally on assets when the returns are consistently positive. That's exactly what HRC Algo can deliver over a long period of time. So now let's look into the monthly returns of the HRC Algo. So we'll go up here, and this is the third-party MyFactsBook track record, and this software basically verifies the performances made on our master account over the past 3 years. So it started in October 2023 with, as you can see, 1.68%. That was actually also the lowest gain ever historically. So then if we scroll all the way to the forward, we see here 2026, we made last month 4.53% and in January 3.65%. And as you can see, all the months have been positive in the green. So the best month has been October 2025. We made 15.64%. And like I said, the worst month was the first month, 1.68%. This isn't opinions. This is simply the track record. This isn't based on fairy tales like I was telling you before. Like most gurus, they can't show you a single thing online, and I'm very done with it. I'm so tired of everyone selling their assets without being able to prove a single thing, right? And I can prove with this track record everything from A to Z. I don't even have to brag or show off. This is just purely based on statistics, and that's what I like. Especially if you're investing large capitals, you need to invest in things that have proven themselves, because I can keep on going. There have been countless of scams online based on fairy tale stories or baked air. So like I said, this isn't based on opinions. This is based on hard track record data, and everything is shown in the comparison that follows. I'll also show you side by side all the numbers of all 4 asset classes over the past 2 years, from January 2024 to January 2026. So let's look now into the next scenario. What happens if we don't do any monthly contributions? Here we see we would be starting with, for example, 1,000 euros, and then after 2 years we would be up 3,900 euros. That is 390% on our investment. Now let's look at Bitcoin. 1,000 euros again, we are up 3,143 euros. That is a very nice gain. S&P 1,000 euros, and then after 2 years we have made 1,050 euros. The savings account, let's say we start with 1,000 euros, then after 2 years we are up 43 euros. So that is super small revenue. There's a super small increasement, only 4%. That is not really, worth it in my opinion, because your hard-earned money will inflate, so your buying power also become lower, and that is not very beneficial for your long-term wealth. Okay, so HRC Algo delivers 3.7 times more than the S&P 500, and HRC Algo also outperforms Bitcoin by 24%. Even the last 2 years, Bitcoin of course made a new all-time high. HRC Algo kept on delivering. So now let's look at a table representation of how it has been looking, because that is also important to understand. So if we see here the tables side by side, HRC Algo, S&P 500, Bitcoin, and our savings account. So you start with 1,000 euros and you reinvest 100 euros each month. You see how rapidly it will start to increase. At the middle of around 2025, you see that the momentum, the compounding effect starts to really kick in. But now let's look at scenario B, where we will be adding a monthly contribution of 100 euros per month. And I think this is a very achievable contribution, because if you are just saving a little bit for yourself, you reinvest it in your savings account, then I think this is very accessible and doable for everyone in the long-term future. I'm not going to put here numbers that are not achievable. I think this is very reasonable for everyone to achieve down the line. If you have a normal job or whatever, you can easily achieve this. You can easily start compounding your wealth by doing this exact same thing. Of course, no guarantees. Past results don't guarantee future profits, but the results don't lie, simply said. So now let's look into the monthly contributions on top of our 1,000 euro start. HRC Algo, we start then with 3,500, and after 2 years we're now up 7,900 euros. Bitcoin, you start again with the same amount and you're up 6,015 euros. S&P 2,152 euros, and with our savings account would be 93 euros. So 3,500 deposit grows to 11,400 euros with HRC Algo. You see the difference between HRC and S&P 500, the extra profit on the same amount, and difference between HRC and the savings account is incredible. It's an incredible difference. So me, myself personally, this is what really opened my eye when I understood this, that saving your money is pointless. Inflation eats up your interest, and basically nothing happens when you leave it in there. So your capital is better at work if you reinvest it in a different asset class that generates you more revenue with that compound interest, with that compound effect in place as well. This is also what I'm doing myself. I'm adding monthly to my portfolio, and that's where the real compound starts to kick in. I'm just leaving it there. I'm not watching at it. I'm not becoming emotional about it because I know that I don't have any impact on the markets. I will just let it flow. I'll let it compound, and I trust in my investments. So now let's look at the monthly table again, and then here you see basically the same thing happening as scenario A. Now only it starts to increase way more aggressively. So halfway through 2025, it is really where it's starting to pick up the compound interest. So now imagine what year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, so on and so forth will start doing with your investments. After, for example, 10 years, if this would be consistent, you can easily hit well over 6 figures in your total investment, or even 7 figures nearing in if you continue doing the monthly contributions. So that is incredible if you do that for the long term and also have that pension safety in mind that will also basically save for the rest of your future. So I think it was all pretty clear. Now let's look into the key takeaways because you guys already all understand the compounding effect and the snowball effect that it has on your investment. Now let's look at the key takeaways and the 4 principles that we have discussed in today's video. So the compound effect only works when the returns are consistently positive. Your savings account started with 3,500 euros and the profits have been incredible, not with investment in your savings account, but with the HRC Algo. You've seen the power of it, you've seen the consistent results, and that is what it is all about. HRC Algo beats Bitcoin with 0 losing months. Bitcoin returned 314% in scenario A. Very impressive, but the HRC Algo returned 390% with no single losing months. No stress, no deep drawdowns, all verified and tracked. Core point 3, you invest 100 euros as a contribution each month, and that all makes a difference. No contributions, you will make 4,900 euros. With 100 euros contributions, you make 11,400 euros on top. So the monthly deposit dramatically increases and accelerates the compound effect. Then point number 4, the S&P 500 is the benchmark. HRC does 3.7 times better. S&P 500 is still a very good investment. It is considered one of the best passive investment opportunities in the world, but HRC Algo outperforms it by a factor of 3.7 times over the same period of 2 years. The comparison in one sentence: 1,000 euros invested in the S&P 500 became 2,050 euros. The same amount in HRC Algo became 4,900 euros in the exact same period. So let's also look at some stats. We have now at the moment 6,000 active users across the entire world. It doesn't really matter where you come from. You can already start investing when you're 18 years old, when you have at least 1,000 euros to reinvesting towards yourself. At the moment we have 25 million AUM under management, and we have been only achieving this in less than about 1 year. Why? Because the product works, right? If it would not be working, it would not be compounding that aggressively. Then we also of course had the 0 losing months since Q4 2023. Max drawdown has been 3.5%, and that means that if you would start with 1,000 euros, the deepest minus that you would have seen in your account would have been minus 35 euros. Let's say everything goes south, you could only lose minus 30%, and that never has been achieved over the past 3 years where the results have been proven itself. It is free to use. It is a very simple plug and play system. It only takes 15 minutes to create your account. Then you can set up the bot and start trading with us from there. And that's what I like about this system. That's what I like about the model. It is not that you have any entrance fees, exit fees, or whatever fees that lock up your investment. You're fully flexible. You can take it out whenever you want. You can redeposit whenever you want. You don't pay us a single penny more over that money that you reinvest. It is fully transparent, like I told you, and that's what it's all about. So now let's dive a bit deeper into why the HRC Algo exists and why we have created this system. So we will go to this table. So from ID to system, I've been trading myself for well over 6-7 years now. I started when I was only 17 years old, and I watched almost everyone around me lose money non-stop consistently. I've seen people at a very serious spot in the market. They have been at hedge funds, they have been at millions under management, and they were never really able to achieve the revenue on a consistent basis. Yes, they had months that they were doing well, but then the next month after they crashed down again and they had to start all over again, or they just stopped by doing it because it was just too emotional for them, too much stress, too much hassle. It was not really worth the risk compared to the reward. Not from a lack of discipline, but because the market moves faster and more complex than any human can handle consistently, especially the forex market. It is so manipulated throughout all the news events happening on a day-to-day basis, it is very tough to really become profitable on that. Yes, I still do believe that trading is possible, but it is just a very difficult stream of income to achieve, and it's not really scalable for everyone. That's why I together created this system with a very experienced developer that has been into coding since 1998 and into programming of CFD trading algorithms since 2005. So he's got a lot of experience, and that is where we have created this system, HRC Algo nowadays called, together with the developer. And yeah, the results has been there.